Welcome to Hearthstone Death Knight Rising. So we'll get into my profile here. So as you can see, in the lower left, that'll give you a sense of my experience as a Hearthstone player. 1,136 wins in ranked play. Another indication would be the level of my heroes. Most are level 35. I like to keep them as even as possible, thereby to give me a sense of what level of player I am in Hearthstone. And it's not easy to maintain, however, because every so often the game introduces a new hero, and it can take a long time to catch them up in level. And the most recent to come along is Death Knight. Death Knight, raise the dead and overrun your opponents with your undead army. So as you can see to the left, the Death Knight hero power is Ghoul Charge for 2. Summon a 1/1 Ghoul with Charge, so it can attack anything right away. It dies at end of turn. Over on the right side, Undead is the typical creature type employed by this class. Corpses. When your minions die, you can salvage the bodies and make use of them. Healing tends to take the form of the vampiric variety, as in lifesteal. So you deal damage to gain that life back. Weakness. Challenging to deck build. Within the class are 3 color categories, and you must choose how to weigh them as it restricts your card use. So I have thoroughly enjoyed playing the Death Knight class. So I figure why not share some of the journey with the public. So this video series is about the closing levels of the catching up process as the Death Knight comes into his own and takes his rightful place as an equal among the other heroes. So with Death Knight, I am level 33. It shows at the bottom there. We could go back to the main screen just to compare them directly to the other classes. So at level 33, I anticipate 3 levels from now, Death Knight should be caught up. By then, every class is likely to be 36. So this begins what I'm guessing will be a 3-2-1 countdown to completion. So let's look at my deck composition that I run nowadays. Hopefully this is not a slow load to my collection. It can be sometimes. But just to preface what you'll be seeing, I tend to, when I compose my decks, prioritize fun over function. So I don't always play with the best possible cards. I just find that I need to have fun when I play. I need to enjoy the cards I'm playing, and if I don't, then it's just winning's not going to have the same satisfaction to it. So I like being able to enjoy seeing the cards whenever they pop up and appreciate the art and all that, and I want to win with cards that I like. So, okay, so we'll run through the deck. So I guess for starters, as you'll see there in the top right, you have 3 rune slots. That's what I was talking about before, about having 3 different colors you can choose from. They're blue, red, and green. And as you can see, I've selected 2 blue slots. And just because I just found myself preferring the blue color. And the most any of my cards demand is 2 blue. So in theory, I have a vacant slot there that I could fill with any of the 3 remaining colors. So there's some versatility there. So let's look at who we have. So like I said, undead is the common creature type for Death Knight. So this one here, an undead veteran battle cry. So when she comes into play, give a friendly minion +1 attack. So she's only 1 cost for 2 attack power, so I don't mind her. She looks pretty cool. She looks kind of badass, actually. So also in the 1 cost range, Dead Scale Knight, Lifesteal. So whenever he deals damage, if I have any health to restore, I'll heal back that amount. Rounding out the 1 cost, Skeletal Psychic. When he gets summoned, give a friendly undead +2 attack. So that can be pretty useful if you need 2 points in a pinch to either kill a creature or sometimes even win the game. Sometimes I've thrown this +2 bonus on my summon ghoul that I can do for my hero power and then win the game that way. It must be painful for the opponent to lose like that. So on to the 2 casting cost. I've only got 1 2 casting cost in here. Of course, referring to the top left in case you're really a true beginner to this. That blue 2, that's what his cost is to put him in. So when he dies, Volatile Skeleton, as in Death Rattle, deal 2 damage to a random enemy. So that's always fun to just shoot somebody for 2. And he's my only 2 casting cost, but if you notice, when I was examining the profile, the ghoul charge costs 2. So if I happen to not draw my Volatile Skeleton, it's no big deal. I'll just do a ghoul charge. And while I'm in this pop-up, as you can see, they give you a little bar graph thing there with all those gold bars to indicate the distribution of your casting cost, right? So just ideally, you want to have some sense of balance, I guess, so that you can always have something to cast. And I tend to cheat toward maybe the 0 to 4 range. I'd rather have more cards sort of at the lower end, just so that you're not stuck with like a mitt full of high casting cost cards. That would just be hard to get out, and by the time you start casting things, you've already been overrun. So only 3 cards in the 7+ range. I think that's a pretty good number. So you don't want to get too many of those, because the temptation to put a lot of really cool cards in there is there. There's all kinds of high casting cost cards, but if you can't put them all in, right? So anyway, moving on. Casting cost 3. Chill Fall Baron. So both when he comes into play and when he dies, I can draw a card. So in most cases, I'll get 2 card draws from this guy. So very cool. Very sturdy card. So not all these cards are class are Death Knight class cards. Some of them are neutral. I think this might be a neutral card here, actually. Dark Fallen Shadow. 3/3 Rush. So he can attack minions the turn he's summoned. And Mana Thirst 6, which means if I have 6 mana or more, he gains the Reborn attribute, which means if he gets killed, he regenerates with the toughness of 1. The red in the lower right of the card, the red 3, be a 1. And so he could even rush a second time when you first casted him. He could rush and get killed and come back and do it again. So rounding out the 3s, Phantom Militia. So taunt, as in he'll get in the way of any creatures that are trying to attack me. You have to go through him first. And Echo. So what that means is he's 3 casting cost, but if I have enough mana after I've cast him, I can actually put out copies of him. So if I have 6 mana, I can put out 2 Phantom Militias. If I have 9 mana, I can put out 3. So that's useful for late in the game. Just at the cost of 1 of the cards in your hand, you can put out as many as 3 creatures with taunts. That's cool. Also in taunt, in the taunt business, Bone Wraith. So he's got taunt and reborn. So we already touched on those abilities. So basically he's a 5 toughness, 5 health, whatever, blocker who will even reborn and stand in the way again after he dies. So pretty cool. So this is the only spell I believe I have in the deck. I'm pretty creature heavy. Remorseless Winter, Frost spell, deal 2 damage to all enemies, and even draw a card. So quite a useful spell. Now we're getting into some of the legendaries. Only 1 copy allowed. Thesaurian. So Battle Cry, Death Rattle, Reborn. Deal 2 damage to a random enemy. So when he comes into play, deal 2. When he dies, deal 2. And then he reborns with 1 health. And when he dies again, he'll do another 2 points. So you're just slinging small amounts of damage. The Black Knight. One of my favorites. In fact, this card used to be casting cost 6. And they brought it down to 4. So maybe people thought that for how situational his battle cry is, maybe 6 is a bit high, because say your opponent doesn't have a taunt. Because that's what he does when you summon him from hand. Battle cry, destroy an enemy minion with taunt. So something standing in your way, Black Knight gets them out of the way. And the Black Knight, can't stress this enough, he's got one of the coolest audio and visual effects when you play him. Super cool. If you've never seen him, just something to look forward to. My only casting cost 5 is Corpse Bride. Battle cry, spend up to 10 corpses. So now we're into that use of corpses cards. Spend up to 10 corpses, in other words, my dead minions, to summon a Risen Groom with taunt, so he'll block things, and that much attack and health. So for every corpse I spend, up to 10. So she could bring out a 10-10 taunt along with her. Pretty good. She's also 4/4. Also uses corpses, Marrow Manipulator. So we get in casting cost 6. Battle cry, spend up to 5 corpses, deal 2 damage to a random enemy for each. So you can do as much as 10 points of damage, just randomly dished out. She just flings body parts, I guess. So I've used her to considerable effectiveness in the past. Now let's get into we got 2 iterations of the hero Sylvanas. So maybe I shouldn't have 2 versions. They're the same person. Maybe shouldn't have 2 versions of her, but it's fun. 2 Sylvanas. So Sylvanas Windrunner. Death Rattle, take control of a random enemy minion. So if your opponent's got more minions than it takes to kill her, if the opponent wants to kill her that badly, he or she will still have something left for me to basically take onto my side. And heck, you can even use Sylvanas to just ram into a big taunt that you're having trouble getting through anyway. So she'll off herself attacking that thing, and then she might even take control of that same minion. So the other Sylvanas, the Accused. So normally she would just battle cry to destroy an enemy minion, which is pretty good. But infuse 7. Infuse refers to the body count of your minions. So your own minions. So once you have 7 guys on your side die to qualify for infuse 7, she doesn't just destroy the enemy minion, takes control of it. So you can imagine how that can be game-changing. So she's 5/5. You take something off your opponent, and then you gain it. It's almost like you gain 3 things. So very cool. And she's got very great audio visual effects as well when she gets played. The last of my 6 is one of my favorite legendary, the Skeleton Knight from the Grand Tournament set. When he dies, reveal a minion in each deck. If mine costs more, he comes back to my hand, which means he can be cast again. So 7 power with the lower left there, the yellow. And only 4 toughness, or health, but you might get to cast him over and over. The opponent might have to kill him and re-kill him and re-kill him, because if you keep getting him back from the Death Rattle ability, possibly. My only 7, Bone Mare. Battle Cry. Give a friendly minion +4/+4 and taunt. Undead Beast. So in other words, you give a creature a mount, basically. And while he's mounted, he's going to fight more effectively, +4/+4. And taunt, so mobile enough to intercept creatures now. So I really like this card. And he's 5/5 too, so that's not bad at all. And finally, the main event, the Lich King. Perhaps, is he the most famous legendary creature in Hearthstone? / World of Warcraft? I mean, leave it in the comments if you have an opinion on that. Is he the most famous, or do you think someone's even more famous? But to my awareness, it is. So, my only 8 casting cost, 8/8 taunt. At the end of your turn, add a random Lich King card to your hand. So that's interesting. We could take a quick glance at that. I don't think I'll go over all of those cards, but check him out up close. And you can see on the left here, related cards, so you can examine what different options there are. So there's a whole bunch. So we won't go over all of them. But you could draw the legendary Frostmourne sword. Death Rattle, summon every minion killed by this weapon. So 5 power, 3 durability, so you can make 3 whacks with this, and for every creature you kill, when this thing runs out, you gain those creatures. They summon onto your side, so very cool. And you can also put this in your deck as its own card, as we'll see in a minute. We'll just glance at a couple of cards that I almost put in here, could have put in here. So just some honorable mentions, I guess, so to speak. So there you go. You could put in Frostmourne if you want. So you could get 2 Frostmournes out in the game if you happen to play Lich King, draw Frostmourne, and you could also draw it from your deck as well. So very cool. I also like this Obsidian Revenant, even though he's not undead, he's only elemental. 4/6 taunt, Death Rattle, summon 2 random Death Rattle minions, 3 or less. So you get 2 guys to replace this guy, so that's pretty cool. So elemental, so not the most Death Knight-y of cards, but he has Death Rattle, so I guess that counts. Pretty cool. So it's easy to leave this card out right now because I've only got 1. It's only common. I don't know why I don't have 2 by now, but unless I have 2 of them, I don't know if I'd even bother putting it in. So last thing, I have played with this card, but he's not in currently. Bone Guard Commander. Oop, accidentally added him. See what happened there? When I added him, it automatically put in the top right there the red rune, because I'd have to have a red rune in there to put this guy in the deck. Because see in the top left of his card under the casting cost of 8, you need to have a red rune in your profile to play this guy. So I could put him in without having to screw with the color distribution if I wanted to. So 8/8 taunt, just like the Lich King. Battle Cry, raise up to 6 corpses. So we're utilizing our fallen minions as 1/3 risen footmen with taunt. So if your board is empty, what better thing to put out than 8/8 taunt, and then you fill out the rest of your board with additional taunt creatures. So hard to beat through all that. And I've played him, I like him, but I mean, it's kind of situational because what if your board is kind of full right now? Then he doesn't have as much of an effect as he could. I don't know. Could absolutely put him in, and maybe should be in. But part of the reason he's not is, like I say, go back to the distribution. You don't want to put too many high casting costs in there. You got to go easy on that, so you can make sure you're playing stuff steadily from the beginning. So, and besides, he's 8 casting cost. So's the Lich King. I think the Lich King deserves to be the only 8 in the deck, the unique 8 cost. So, I don't know. Share your thoughts in the comments if you'd like. We looked at some cards: Frostmourne, Obsidian Revenant, Bone Guard Commander. Should those guys be in here? Some or all? If you really think so, maybe you leave it in the comments, because maybe I'll change the deck to accommodate the demand of viewers. Or if you have other suggestions, other Death Knight cards that you really like, that you'd put in yourself. So there you go. That's it. That's the deck. That's what we're going to be using, unless I decide to change it. And I think that does it. Now ready to actually start playing. And so you go to the Hearthstone, the traditional Hearthstone experience. And then eventually, it'll bring you to the screen to make a deck selection and get playing. There you go. Top left, Death Knight. Okay, let's get playing.